Hello everyone and welcome back to Wicked Reading. Today I will be reading about both versions of the Sphinx, Greek and Egyptian. The first sphinxes were made by the Egyptians and were usually equipped with a nemes, which is a headdress. Some examples of these are sphinxes that have human faces but are surrounded by lion's mane. And in the New Kingdom, the head was often represented by a ram. The exact time that the first Sphinx was created is not known. The most famous one is the Great Sphinx of Giza, which dates back to the reign of Cheops around 2500 BCE. In the 18th dynasty, during a hunting expedition, the Egyptian pharaoh Thutmose IV fell asleep in the shadow of the Great Sphinx. He woke up and declared that the statue had spoken to him, and that he was going to become the king if he could clear the sand around its feet. During the reign of Chephren, the number of sphinxes became more widespread. They were usually placed near a tomb, a mortuary temple, or a funerary monument. In Egyptian mythology, the Sphinx can sometimes be depicted with a woman's face. One of the most famous examples of this is the statue of Queen Hetepheres, the second of Egypt, which dates back to around 2700 to 2500 BC. The Sphinx was also adorned with a royal headdress, which was worn by the pharaohs. The Sphinx is different from other Egyptian deities in that it has both a human head and an animal body, which is unusual since most of the other major deities have animal heads and human bodies. One possible explanation is that it's the statue's depiction of Leo, which is the constellation of the lion. Many pharaohs had their heads carved atop the guardian statues for their tombs to show their close relationship with the powerful solar deity, Sekhmet, a lioness. What the Egyptians called the Sphinx was never recorded, and the word in use today, or Sphinx, is a derivative of what the Greeks called their version of this hybrid creature. The Sphinx was built to protect the royal family. It was usually placed near royal burial sites and temple entrances. The statue was associated with Ra, who was the sun god and the godly father of the pharaoh. Ra's power was a key component of the pharaoh's reign. The Sphinx was also used to defend against the literal forces of darkness and evil. The tradition of making and displaying sphinxes continued in various kingdoms. According to the Egyptians, the statue was meant to represent their solar deity or sun god. Historical records show that in the New Kingdom, the Sphinx was also a representation of Hora-Makhet, or the Horus of the horizon. The Great Sphinx at the Pyramids of Giza is one of the most popular tourist spots in the world, and have also spurred many investigations as to the various inconsistencies that researchers and archaeologists have pointed out over the years. This includes the disproportionate head of the Sphinx with respect to the rest of the body. However, apart from the Great Sphinx at Giza, Egypt is home to many other versions of the Sphinx, making it a symbol of the ancient times. This symbolism has spread across Europe and Asia, and is one of the most popular hybrid characters in the world, with multiple mythologies and cultures laying claim to it. In modern times, people tend to confuse stories of the Greek Sphinx with the Egyptian version, leading to incorrect renditions of the history of the creature. On to the Greek Sphinx. The mythological creature known as the Sphinx is an important figure in both Greek and Egyptian legend and art. It has a lion's body and a human head. The word was derived from the Greek word to bind or to squeeze, but its origin is not related to the legend. The earliest known mention of the creature was by Hesiod. The story of the Sphinx of Thebes, which is regarded as the most famous figure in legend, revolves around the creature's terrifying behavior when it demanded the correct answer to a riddle that was taught to it by the Muses. Failing to answer that question would lead to the Sphinx devouring the person. The legend of the Sphinx being an omniscient being has grown, and its wisdom still remains relevant today. In Greek mythology, the Sphinx is depicted as a woman's head instead of a man's. It also has the wings of an eagle and the tail and body of a lion. According to Pliny the Elder, Ethiopia produces numerous sphinxes, and experts from the 20th century have confirmed that the creatures have brown hair and breasts based on archaeological findings. According to Stadius, The Sphinx is a winged creature with a long tail and a cloud of gore resting on its face. Its wings are sometimes described as those of an eagle and a serpent-headed tail. Hesiod believed that the Sphinx was a daughter of the Orthrus and the Echidna. Lassus and Apollodorus also believed that it was a daughter of Typhon and Echidna. Furthermore, historians still do not know where the Sphinx originated, as even in Greek mythology the lore suggests that sphinxes come from places, such faraway places as Africa. The source and versions of the name for the Sphinx are not known, and researchers have been at loggerheads coming to a common conclusion for the same. The story of the Sphinx guarding the entrance of Thebes states that it asked a riddle to allow travelers to pass through. The exact answer given by the creature was not specified by the early tellers of the myth. According to lore, Hera or Ares sent the Sphinx to Thebes from her Ethiopian homeland. Upon entering Thebes, the creature demanded the correct answer to the most famous riddle in history. Which creature has one voice and yet becomes 4-footed and 2-footed and 3-footed? It would then attack anyone who could not provide the correct answer. In order to solve the riddle, Oedipus had to explain that a man can walk on all fours at an early age, and he can use a walking stick in old age. Some accounts, however, state that there was a second answer. It states that there are 2 sisters, one of which gives birth to the other, while the latter gives birth to the first. The second riddle in the story asks who are the 2 sisters. In ancient Greek, the word day and night refers to feminine, and this is believed to be the answer. The Sphinx was bested at last. In some versions, Oedipus killed the creature, while some others claim that it devoured itself. Both versions of the story help explain the transition between old and new religious practices. As a threshold figure, Oedipus can be regarded as a unifying force that helps guide the rise of the Olympian gods. The concept of answering a riddle to gain access to some great treasure has been replicated in numerous movies and other pop culture references. Many Greek retellings and video games also place the Sphinx in crucial plot roles, especially before major boss fights or transitions to the next level.